Shout out to our sponsor, Loot Anime.
Get a crate of anime and manga goodies for only $24.95 each month.
And use offer code THEKNOW to get $3 off a new subscription.
Just do it!
Welcome to The Know, I'm Ashely Jenkins.
I'm Turney.
Warm up those bank accounts, guys, because Sony is about to dish out a whole lot of cash to gamers.
Thanks to a long-running and newly settled class action lawsuit, the company now owes PlayStation owners a total of up to $550 million.
Philosopher's legacies for everybody. That's a lot of money. The lawsuit in question dates all the way back to 2010 and has to do with the removal of Linux and other OS support from the PlayStation 3. Pretty sure we've all moved on by now, but good to know that the legal system moves very quickly.
Yes, if you recall, Sony originally removed other OS support because they were trying to prevent people from pirating PS3 games. So now they have to write a really, really big check because they wanted you to pay for their video games. It's a weird world we live in.
Whatever, free money, right? Don't look too closely into it. The settlement was reached this past Friday after 6 years of litigation and will need to be approved by a California judge sometime next month before being finalized.
But before you get too excited about swimming in Papa PlayStation's money, you should probably know that that $550 million, yeah, it's gotta be split like a whole lot of ways.
In total, up to 10 million people are eligible for the refund. The number of people who bought the fat PS3 models in the US prior to the removal of Linux and other OS. That'll leave just about $55 for each of you if you're not so great at math. But you know, 55 bucks.
I'll take it. You can almost buy a game. By the way, the lawsuit documents do actually refer to the original PS3 as the fat model.
Rude. So what can you get with 55 bucks? Like, I mean, not a full game,
no,
right? But like
maybe
a couple
like
copies of Battleborn?
You get like a nice lunch.
Well, look, it's Sony's money, so it's not ours. The money does come with some caveats, however.
According to the terms of the accord reached between sounds so fancy, between Sony and the lawyers representing 10 million PS3 owners, gamers will be eligible to receive the $55 if they demonstrate that they purchased their PS3 and also installed Linux on it.
That means you'll need to show that you bought your PS3 between November 1st, 2006 and April 1st, 2010. That's when the firmware launched that removed Linux capability.
In case you get any ideas about lying so you can score some free money, you'll have to attest to that fact under oath. Gamers will also need to provide proof of their purchase or serial number, and PlayStation Network sign an ID and submit some proof of their use of the other OS functionality.
Wow, they're really making you work for the 55 bucks. I'd like it. Is that even minimum wage? I don't think it is. You gotta tell the truth and everything?
By the way, if you swear something under oath and then you lied, it's perjury. That's a big deal, kids.
It costs you a lot more than 55 bucks.
Yeah. As for what form of proof that they'd upset, yeah, I'm just gonna keep that going. Sony hasn't made that part clear, by the way. They will, however, be advertising these settlements to former PSN owners through email and across the web. So yeah, more details when that comes out, I guess.
Yeah, if it sounds like just one or two hoops too many, I mean, it sounds like that to me, but you know, if you agree, you may also have the option of getting $9 from Sony. A little bit less, but still free money, if you insist that other OS was one of the main reasons for your initial PS3 purchase.
For that, you'll just submit a form stating you, quote, knew about the other OS, relied upon the other OS functionality, and intended to use the other OS functionality.
Like, as we said before, this entire ordeal first came about because of the 3.21 firmware update, which served no other purpose but to remove support for additional operating systems from PlayStation 3.
Now, at the time, Sony's reason for removing Linux support was because of security concerns, which were never explicitly outlined by the company. But for anyone following what was going on elsewhere in the PlayStation community, yeah, it's pretty easy to read between the lines.
Just a few months prior to the 3.21 update, the now infamous hacker George Hotz, or GeoHot as he was commonly known on the tubes, figured out a backdoor vulnerability in the PS3's architecture.
The exploit allowed him to have read-write access to the console's memory as well as processor access. And to make things worse, he released the details of his exploit to the entire world, hoping to ignite the PS3 scene. The same way, of course, that the iPhone jailbreak ignited the iPhone community.
Isn't he the one that did the iPhone? No, wait. I don't know.
He's done a lot of.
He's done all kinds of like hardware hacking. Since that particular exploit was made possible through other OS, Sony put the whole feature on the chopping block.
Which is really a bummer for people who were actually using it. Prior to the console's launch, the ability to install Linux was actually kind of a big selling point for them. They ruffled enough feathers by removing it that a number of lawsuits did start popping up once the 3.21 firmware was introduced, with many claiming that Sony breached its sales contract.
Wow, people get upset when you remove features instead of fixing your security vulnerabilities? What? That's crazy. Who can imagine?
I mean, it's hard to imagine that stopping a small minority of users, and let's be clear, it's probably very likely that only very few were running Linux at all, saved Sony more than $550 million in pirated games. They basically just shot themselves in the foot.
Removing it probably cost them way more headaches and money than leaving it in would have. The fail overflow team that eventually busted the PS3 wide open argued that PS3's piracy and hacking scene exploded because Sony closed off their platform rather than leaving it open like it was on day one. You just like, you gotta get that challenge.
Love that. Crash override, guys. That's the, never mind. I just really wanted to make a good hackers reference in there. After a certain point, Sony got tired of all the shenanigans, of course. They sued Geohot. They sued him right off their platform, and also they sued him. They claimed, of course, that he infringed on the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, as well as the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which I do think is in hackers.
Yeah, and we all know how that whole thing ended in hackers and in real life. They settled out of court, and now he works for Google. So everyone gets money from Sony eventually, and the original hacker built self-driving cars. Again, we live in a weird world.
However, I don't think he's seen Angelina Jolie's boobies, which does happen in hackers. So the moral of the story, I'm just giving you a chance to be able to use them. The moral of the story is fix your features instead of deleting them, guys. Or don't pirate video games because that makes companies paranoid, or just wait around and maybe eventually a company will pay you.
So, what do you guys think of Sony owing gamers up to $550 million? That's a lot of money. Let us know in the comments.
For all your future PlayStation paychecks, like this video and subscribe to The Know. What would you spend your $55 on?
Thanks to Loot Anime for sponsoring this update.
Loot Anime sends you over $60 worth of cool stuff starting at $24.95 each month.
Every crate has a theme, and this month's theme is victory.
For the win!
The new crate features exclusive items from Splatoon, Free, and Yowamushi Pedal. Get it before it's gone though, because they usually sell out.
And this is the last week, so, you know, you want it.
Don't wait.